The Miami Heat are now reportedly one of the most interested teams in acquiring Los Angeles Clippers shooting guard Paul George to the team. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to talk about with you guys. This time it's currently being reported that the Miami Heat are showing interest in Paul George. This is all being reported by Barry Jackson. Now, I actually believe this is a very interesting move and one that I think would actually be pretty decent for the Miami Heat. But the issue I see with this is it's getting a lot of hate and a lot of media attention, especially after Paul George's really bad, playoff efforts that he did have. People, for some reason, seem to forget how good Paul George actually was with, his one season with OKC that he did actually have. It was an MVP caliber season. I believe he finished third in the MVP. People also seem to forget how good he was with the Indiana Pacers. And I feel like a lot of issues that happened this year, look, he barely got to play consistent basketball. He always had, some sort of injury that was potentially, going on. I believe he may have had some mental issues in the hub as well. But now that he's going to have a full pre-season to get fully healthy, we've seen, he had a very similar thing with OKC. He had a full pre-season to get healthy, and he ended up coming out and, averaging like 28 points for the season. Now that he has a full pre-season to potentially get happy really as well and healthy, I could see a very, very big change for Paul George to the point where I could definitely see a way where he does, eventually maybe average more than 24 plus points per game again. He's just got to, get over the mental issues that he had with the hub/bubble. He's got to get back into the frame of getting to himself with a healthy body, healthy mindset, and all that type of stuff, and just block out all the hate, because this hate that he's getting all online is honestly just annoying in my opinion. Same thing with Danny Green. Like, Danny Green played bad in the playoffs, but he actually had a pretty decent regular season. And all these kind of people that are just hating on these two players just kind of forget to remember or acknowledge these couple of factors of these players, and don't seem to think of how they would have struggled in the hub and all this type of stuff. So I kind of go over the philosophy of, what if I had to put myself in Paul George's shoes in the hub? How would I have potentially gone? And honestly, I don't know if it would have been the greatest thing at all, being away from your family for so long and having injuries and all the mental issues to worry about. It would have been a pretty hard thing, and I just, got to give it to Paul George that I definitely feel like he could make a comeback, and if the Clippers give up on him too early, I think that would be a potential loss for, them, as I definitely feel like if Paul George would go to a team in the Miami Heat where he could, again, play the more traditional wing position that he likes to play, the shooting guard/small forward, rather than just kicking it back at shooting guard for most of the game, then I definitely could see him actually going really well with Eric Spoelstra, especially if he can get his defense back up and start, consistently hitting his mid-range like he previously was at OKC and the Indiana Pacers. He would be a great player to potentially get for the Miami Heat, and would be a very interesting big three to potentially go and see on the court. Let's just say that, Jimmy Butler can continue what he did in the playoffs this year, maybe next season in that playoffs, if they do make it, and Paul George can get back to his 24 plus points per game. Bam Adebayo will slightly, increase more and more. It's reported they're going to be going after Giannis very soon as well. If they could have another year of contending, whether or not they come out with a championship or not, they could still go into the next season going out and getting Giannis after that. And imagine that team. Imagine how insane a starting five of Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam Adebayo would be. It would be absolutely insane. So I don't expect the Clippers to give up on Paul George at all. In fact, I don't expect them to trade him. I think they know the promise that he could have, and if he had a full off-season of getting healthy and potentially getting back into it, then imagine what he could potentially be like for the team. I don't think they are going to trade him at all, and if they did, I don't really know if it would be to the Miami Heat. I feel like they would go out and, try and get more pieces, while the Miami Heat are probably going to offer picks and, all of the above, like that type of stuff. So I don't know if that's necessarily what they want. If I was to see a Paul George trade, I feel like they would look to acquire, decent players to make it happen and salary relief. For example, I'm not saying this would be the team at all that he would get traded to. I'm just using these players as an example because this is the team I go for. So I think it'd be a pretty easy team to, kind of use as an example. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have players such as, Jetty Osman and Tristan Thompson and numerous picks that I feel like would be nice for the Clippers. Again, I'm not saying they should trade into them at all. I'm not saying the Cavs should trade for them. I'm just saying that's an example. How that would go would be like, again, Jetty Osman, who's only on $8 million or so. Tristan Thompson, who could go on like an $8 million deal. You brought in those two really nice role players. That would be really good for the Clippers, especially considering they need a center and a more consistent shooter off the bench. Those two players would be really nice. Plus, they would, again, have half of Paul George's contract still available. So, again, they'd still have like another $16 million to go spend on other players to just go out and get another max player. And then they would be able to bring in picks. That's what I could see them doing. Rather, if it was the Miami Heat, they'd probably get some crappy picks and wouldn't get exactly the greatest players. And if they did, they could maybe land a player like Derrick Jones or Jay Crowder. And honestly, that is not what the Clippers need. The Clippers need a center. They need a playmaking point guard, and they may need a consistent shooter here and there to, who knows, come off the bench or something like that for the team. So, again, I don't feel like the Miami Heat really have those players available for the Los Angeles Clippers. But again, it could potentially happen where, who knows, maybe the Heat offer 2 first-round picks, and a player like Derrick Jones Jr. and another player or something like that. Because, again, even though it kind of sounds crappy, I don't really feel like Paul George's value is extremely high at this point at all. I feel like you could get a couple of picks and maybe a couple of nice role players out of him. And that's probably what you would get if you were to trade him. He's got a very big contract, a lot of injury issues, a lot of form issues. Again, did I mention the big contract? It's just a very hard thing to maybe see potentially happen. But again, I'm very interested to see how this could all go with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think it would be a very interesting move to maybe see, and I really don't think they should be looking to trade Paul George at all. But again, I feel like if they were, the Miami Heat would be a great team to try and trade for him, because again, the Miami Heat, he would fit in so perfectly with their defensive system and mid-range type of aspect on how they go about it and their system proficiency. He would just fit in so perfectly at Miami. And again, if he can consistently knock down that mid-range, wow, it would be a very nice thing to maybe potentially see on the Miami Heat as well. But again, I'm not exactly too sure what's going to potentially happen. I think it's going to go down to the wire on whether or not he gets traded or not. I really hope he doesn't. But if he does get traded to a team, I think the Heat would be a cool team to maybe see him get traded to. I just don't know. I just would really like to see a comeback from Paul George and see, another good season with him and Kawhi, again, maybe take place. It'd be really good to see if they can get that chemistry going, get a center for the team, and get a playmaker. It would be a very nice situation for all of them across the floor. And I know a lot of people like to see that the Clippers failed and like to see Paul George fail, but I was one that didn't. I really would love to see Paul George get back to it. And again, I couldn't think of a better team for that to happen than at the Miami Heat. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for the latest NBA content and NBA news. Of course, don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Do you guys think it'd be a good idea for the Miami Heat to potentially try and trade for Paul George? Again, I definitely would really like to know all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. But of course, don't forget to subscribe again to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channel. Don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already. Links for them will all be in the description down below. But as I was saying, to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.